Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Right now there is a discussion in Hamburg in the north of Germany about what to do with the largest and greatest Bismarck statue that we have here in Germany. It was decided that the statue should be renovated and repaired, but now many Protestants and left-wingers came out of their holes and they said, wait. We cannot just repair this statue. We have to destroy it, or at least chop the head off, or turn it into some kind of a mockery version that they would call then a critical commentary on Bismarck. But so far nothing was decided. So in today's video I first want to explain briefly what a Bismarck actually is, and then I want to say a little more about this little episode of iconoclasm in Germany. But first I want to thank all my supporters and all my subscribers. Please like, share, subscribe or leave a comment, and if you want to, you can support my channel via PayPal, Patreon or Subscribestar. So first of all, what is a Bismarck really? It is not only a pickled herring, no, it is of course also the name of a battleship. And not only the name of a battleship, it is also the name of a fictional transformer robot from a 1980s Japanese anime. But the statue in Hamburg, of course, has only a mild resemblance with that transformer. The statue in Hamburg was erected between 1901 and 1906 in honor of the most prominent member of the Prussian noble family von Bismarck. And that guy was the first Chancellor of the unified German Empire, Reichskanzler Otto von Bismarck, our Iron Chancellor, as he has been named afterwards. So I do not want to tell you all the details of his eventful life, and I don't want to give you his entire CV or a biography. If you're interested in that, you can look it up. The links are down below. Suffice it to say here that he was a German statesman, he was the Prime Minister of Prussia, then he was the Chancellor of the Northern German Federation, and then, as I said, the first Chancellor of the Empire between 1871 and 1890. He is seen, of course, as the major architect of the German unification and of the German Empire. In his younger years, at the beginning of his political career, he was known as a fierce supporter and protector of the Prussian knights, so the nobility. And while he always remained a monarchist and a conservative, of course, he was later known as a pragmatist and as a person who can organize majorities in parliament, even with the National Liberal Party. So that enormous statue in Hamburg was erected 10 years or over 10 years even after Bismarck stepped down from office as Reichskanzler. And you can see from that he was very popular at that time. In fact, up until 1950, he was seen generally as a national hero and a great statesman. After that, the hippie generation, the student protest generation, they changed the way that people saw him. They were overly critical of him and saw him as a very negative person, as a militant monarchist, an anti-democratic authoritarian ruler. Nowadays, the Wikipedia article says, and this is also my perception, I have to say, there is a more ambivalent and a more nuanced view of Otto von Bismarck. He was, of course, a product of his time, and while he undoubtedly had many weaknesses, he managed to unify the German tribes, and he successfully pursued his goal of preventing wars on the European continent. That was always his prime directive, and he clashed with Wilhelm II exactly for that reason. The young emperor was seen as too inexperienced and too hot-headed, and also too, let's say, susceptible to flattery by the old experienced Otto von Bismarck. And Bismarck literally said about Wilhelm II that even though he doesn't want it, he might just by accident get Germany into a continental war, which, as we all know, happened later on. So let's get back to the statue and the iconoclasm. As we all know, especially in this year 2020, we have seen a lot of vandalism, a lot of destruction, and also that in some cities, especially in the UK and the United States, some historic statues were taken down, sometimes scheduled and officially, and sometimes, let's say, irregularly by a street mob. In Germany, on the other hand, this really hasn't happened. I mean, we always have some kind of vandalism, like some paint attacks or some communist single mothers let their children color these statues with crayons. But really, I haven't seen so far that a violent mob just turns up and puts chains and ropes around a statue, pulls it down and drags it into the next river. I haven't seen that in Germany yet. And maybe that is because German history compared to US or UK history is rather tame, and there is not so much going on, not so many controversial things. And this is why the left-wing mob just doesn't have any reason to tear down too many statues in Germany, I guess. So I'm not a historian, of course, but it just seems to me, based on that observation, that German history must have been rather uneventful. Or there might be another reason for that. Maybe it is because Germans like order. So maybe just spontaneously tearing down a statue is not really our style. We want to do things officially, and that is what Hamburg is trying to do at the moment. They are having a public debate and they really try to figure out what they should do with this Bismarck monument. It is very clear that many people, especially leftists, don't want to leave it as it is, and they don't just want to repair it. They want to make a critical commentary on Bismarck using this statue or the new version of the statue that they have in mind. So there were some self-declared artists already that put funny stuff on his head, and you can see that there is also some graffiti at the base of the structure. But the plans that you hear out of Hamburg right now range on a broad spectrum from just tearing it down completely to beheading the statue and putting the head at the statue's feet. I also heard that people just want to turn the head around, or they want to turn the entire statue upside down. But it is very clear that they somehow want to make a parody version, a mockery version, or a destroyed version of the statue. And that is so typical generally for leftists. They cannot just let a historic statue or a work of art just stand as it is and then make their critical commentary maybe on a plaque at the bottom of the statue, or maybe in a pamphlet or a leaflet somewhere. No, they have to destroy the statue in some way or turn it into some subverted, perverted mockery version of itself. And also, they cannot make their own sculptures and their own things. No, they have to destroy or subvert the thing that others already made. And this statue is a work of art. It is in the style of a medieval Roland statue. That is a knight in armor wearing a sword. And that is, of course, because Bismarck was seen as a protector of Germany. Various people all over German history have been depicted in such a style throughout the Middle Ages until the 20th century. Many of you might have seen an example of that somewhere, I am sure. And yeah, as I said, this statue is of course a work of art from the beginning of the 20th century, and while it is not the Mona Lisa, of course, it is a historical monument, it is a work of art. It shows us how people in the beginning of the 20th century saw our Chancellor Bismarck and what monument they built in order to honor him. Now maybe these leftists would also paint over the Mona Lisa when the fashion style changes or the hairstyle changes, or maybe they want to put some lipstick on her or make her blonde or pink haired, I don't know. And one example is this guy here, a pastor, Ulrich Henschel. So he is a self-declared Christian, and he accuses Bismarck of being a warmonger and an aggressive person who is guilty of the death of hundreds of thousands of people in France and Poland. Now, I have no idea what kind of atrocities or wars he is referring to, but I don't think that Bismarck had anything to do with that. As I said, Bismarck wanted to prevent these wars. And either he's just lying or he is hinting at a later war or two later wars that were fought many, many years, over 2 decades after Bismarck stepped down as chancellor, as I said. So where does this end? Do we have to take down statues of emperors from the 13th century because of what happened in the 20th century? That is absolutely preposterous. And yeah, we're still laughing about that. Oh, what an exaggerated, hyperbolic example. No. I'm sure that in a couple of years that will exactly become a reality, and this is exactly what they will actually suggest. So as I already said when I was going on my tour in Munich and when I commented on these old paintings near the Odeonplatz, I don't think these paintings will be there for much longer because they show dukes and prince electors from our past, and that is just, that is not cool, man. You cannot just show German people on a painting. So yeah, that is the situation in Germany when it comes to the iconoclasts. Now, as I said, we don't have mobs that tear down statues just yet, but there is of course vandalism, and they try now in an orderly process, going through the proper channels and all, they try to have statues taken down, vandalized, or turned into somewhat of a caricature-like mockery version of the original statue. Alright, so I hope you stay tuned for more material coming towards the end of the year now, and if you like, you can join on Wo's channel for Millennial tonight. Servus, Kameraden!